rap ain't never did shit for a nigga with no options. You want some positivity, go listen to some comment. I'm here to bring you knowledge that they...
Alright, talking New England Patriots. We'll do a little preview on the Patriots. I still think the Patriots are going to be the team to beat in the AFC East. Once again, they're in a pretty weak division with a couple of teams that they have in their division. So I definitely think that the Patriots will coast through the regular season as they usually do. They did have some key guys that are gone though off their team. A lot of their little pieces that Belichick likes. When you talk about Amendola, you know who Amendola, he really came in and played good when Edelman was out last year. Cooks really didn't turn out to be the deep threat that they thought they were going to be getting out of him. He didn't produce, I don't think, the way that they thought he would. I don't think him and Brady had the chemistry that they thought they could have had. Dion Lewis is gone. He'd signed a deal with the Titans. I think a good deal for him. Got out of these 3 to 4 man groups that, you know that Bill Belichick doesn't value his running back very well. He'll put literally anybody back there. So other things, like I said, Amendola gone to Miami. He's going to replace Jarvis Landry there. Dion Lewis going to Tennessee. Rex Burkhead re-signed, so they do have Rex Burkhead still. And then Malcolm Butler, obviously, you probably could see that coming, that he was out after, him sitting basically out of the Super Bowl last year for some unapparent reason. He's in Tennessee now. Nate Soldier is a giant now. That's probably their biggest loss of the summer, I'd say, that left tackle position. Now, they did do a good job of replacing it with Isaiah Wynn. That was their first-round pick at 23. They got out of Georgia. And then they did a really good job at 31 getting Sonny Michel. I think a guy that maybe other teams would value differently, but because the way Belichick uses his running backs, I think he's going to be really good out of the backfield, catching passes. I think this guy could potentially be the starter, halfway through the year, but at the same time, do they really have a starter? So I think this is going to be one of the guys like the James White, your Rex Burkhead, Jeremy Hill. I think those 4 guys are all going to have times this year where they're the guy. I think Jeremy Hill might have a better chance as the year starts, but once he has a fumble, I see maybe, Burkhead or James White. James White's always going to be part of the offense, but maybe at that point Rex Burkhead gets an opportunity. And then I think at that point, if Rex Burkhead doesn't produce the way he was at the end of last season, which he was producing very well, I think that's the time where they start to use Sonny Michel a little bit more. And Michel's definitely going to be used in the passing game. He's going to be used a bit, but I don't know if he's going to be used enough at the first of the year to be a guy that you draft fantasy-wise. You might be able to get him. You might draft him late. Other guys in the draft, they got Duke Dawson, a guy that some people were high on, some people weren't. It really depends on what film you watched of his. If you watched his film against Georgia, you probably really fell in love with him. If you watched some of his other film, you might not have. But I like Duke Dawson. I think he's going to be a good player. I think he'll fit in Belichick's lineup. Jawan Bentley, another guy that out of Purdue, linebacker, had a real good year. Another good pick by Belichick. Belichick, I think, does the best job of grabbing guys that slip in drafts. I think he understands the value of all players very well. I think that's what kind of sets him apart in his player evaluation. Christian Sam, another good DN/linebacker type out of Arizona State. And then Amendola wants to leave. Well, I'll go get me a little mini Amendola in the draft. Braxton Berrios, little white receiver that I think is going to be awesome for the Patriots. Fits their system great. Really good pick later in the draft. Danny Etling, wasn't a huge fan of, but he was working with the Patriots quarterback coach, or he has in the past, and I think that's the reason why they went ahead and went after him. And then Ryan Izzo, Keon Crossan. I don't really know a lot about Keon Crossan, but Ryan Izzo is a tight end out of Florida State. Pretty good blocking tight end. We'll see what he can do for New England. Bigger storylines this offseason, people that they added, they got the other McCourty brother from the Browns, as well as Danny Shelton from the Browns. That was big. We'll see if Jordan Matthews can make an impact. Jordan Matthews has kind of been on. He was always a highly touted guy coming out of Vanderbilt, but he's never really panned out the way that he's been at, that you would expect him to be. You know, when he came out of Vanderbilt, he was looked at as going to be a top receiver, and that hasn't happened. Adrian Claiborne came over from the Falcons. That's a huge piece for the defensive line. The defensive line has definitely improved a lot this last summer. The secondary, I think, has suffered a little bit, but I don't really ever look at the Patriots as having like a really strong team. Now they have a good linebacking core, good defensive line now. Their secondary, I'm not as well convinced on, but I know Belichick will get it taken care of. Cordell Patterson came over as well. And then Troy Nicholas, a tight end out of Notre Dame that really hadn't panned out yet from Arizona, has came over. We'll see if he can get a little bit of playing time. I know they have a lot of tight ends. They got a kid from, I think, Hollingsworth or something like that. Probably just butchered his name, from Wyoming a couple years ago. He's in that mix of tight ends. So, and obviously, they have Gronk. I think this is going to be another year of Gronk and Brady. They're kind of hitting you with some storylines this summer, and they've been kind of hitting you with this Belichick and Brady don't get along, and Brady and Gronk are on the same page. They're not going to be doing any OTAs that they don't have to be doing. They're only coming to mandatory camps and stuff like that. And I think when you get to a point where you're the Patriots and you're pretty untouchable and the media really can't say much about you at this point, you hadn't really done anything wrong in a couple of years, I think they're going to look and they're going to search for anything that they can find to try to create some turmoil. It's kind of like LeBron and the Cavs. Anytime that there's any turmoil going on, they'll try to find it. They'll try to fish for it. And I think that's kind of what they do. They know the Patriots. Any storyline that comes out with the Patriots is going to get a lot of talk, a lot of headlines, and so I think they do it. But the main thing that you need to worry about with the Patriots is the fact that they didn't really have any bad losses this year. Okay, they lost a couple running backs and lost a running back and lost a wide receiver, a couple wide receivers that really didn't produce that well. They're getting Edelman back. They're getting the receiver from Georgia. Can't think of his name. I think Malcolm Mitchell is his name. He's going to be back this year. He didn't play at all last year. We have Chris Hogan as a deep threat. Braxton Berrios is going to be able to play that slot that they need. Cooks didn't produce the way he did, and they got assets out of it from the Rams. Nate Solder, kind of a surprise that he went ahead and left, but he went ahead and got paid, got some money for him and his family. They added guys, and I think that where they added the best was probably defensive line with Adrian Claiborne, Danny Shelton. I think that's really going to make their interior line better, and they already had a pretty good interior line. They have Malcolm Brown from Texas as well. Linebacker-wise, they have Dante Hightower, which an Alabama linebacker. I love Alabama linebackers. One of the best linebackers in the league if he can stay healthy. The secondary is really going to be the issue, I think. I think the offensive line will have good blocking schemes. I think Brady will have plenty of time to get rid of the ball. To me, Brady doesn't really need a highly touted receiver to get stuff done. I think he can get it done with the Edelmans of the world. So I'm looking at another good season from the Patriots, 11-5, 12-4. And then they'll play good enough where they get a bye that first round. So they're going to get, a second round home game against an all right, team that's probably struggling all year to get into the playoffs, or they get in late, or they're dealing with a ton of injuries by the time they get to the Patriots. Patriots basically get a free game to the AFC Championship game. I see it kind of happening again this year. And, thinking teams that could really face them this year, I can see the Steelers maybe chasing them. If the Chargers just really have an awesome year, maybe the Chargers and maybe the Jags. But I'm not sold on the Jags yet, because to me the Jags, they might be a one-hit wonder. Their defense is very good. You have to have a quarterback in this league, and I just don't trust Blake Bortles to get them back there again. or at least getting past the Steelers. I think the Steelers are probably the top team to face the Patriots in the AFC Championship game this year.
All in the white man's plan to just assimilate the niggas. If it stop their business, let the monkeys integrate. Abraham Lincoln never kept none of my niggas safe. Only gave them prison dates and churches, chicken dinner plates.